Joni Lamb recently defended herself against the allegation she covered up child SA. Her daughter-in-law Suzy had said Joni told her not to go to the police. This is the recording.
I was ready to get in the car and go to the police, but this woman I really trusted said, no, we're going to talk to the teachers.
Joni then released a video of herself on Daystar TV responding to the allegations. She was asked, "When did you hear about the allegation?" Joni answered, "My first knowledge of any abuse was in November of 2020. Suzy called me and said there had been an incident at my granddaughter's preschool. She asked me if I would go to it with her. I said, absolutely, so we went and we reported it to the school. Here's the audio clip."
We reported it to the school.
Her friend at Daystar then says, "Okay, so the word about you covering up, there's no truth to that." Joni responds, "You know, when I started hearing that I thought to myself, what am I covering up? I've covered up nothing. I never covered up anything." But the Texas Attorney General says, anyone having cause to believe that a child's physical or mental health or welfare has been, or may be, adversely affected by abuse or neglect, must report the case immediately to a state or local law enforcement agency, or the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Note who he said must report it, and where. Everyone has a duty to report, not just parents, and the report goes to the government, not a school. It does say there are reporting requirements for professionals. Teachers and child daycare workers must make a verbal report within 48 hours. Failure to report suspected child abuse or neglect is a misdemeanor, punishable by imprisonment. But pay close attention to their next statement. Reporting suspected child abuse to your principal, school counselor, or superintendent will not satisfy your obligation under this law. Clearly, the intent of the law was to not allow bureaucracy to prevent or delay reporting, thereby placing children at greater risk. Protective Services offers an abuse hotline, and on their website they say when the child is very young, it is even more important to not only file the report to the government agency which investigates crimes, but do it quickly. When are you required to call the Texas Abuse Hotline? They say, call when the situation is urgent, and urgent means someone faces an immediate risk of abuse or neglect that could result in death or serious harm. And call when the situation includes serious injuries and any injury to a child 5 years or younger. How young was Joni's granddaughter at the time? 5 years old. Texas authorities and most parents are well aware of the conflict of interest for schools and churches to self-investigate crimes. This is precisely why they're not allowed to do that only. They can do an internal review but not before or as a substitute for a government criminal investigation. They don't have the investigation skills or tools or honesty to do it right and get it right. No parent or grandparent who understands this is going to only report what they suspect happened to a child to a church or school. In her defense, Joni said she, quote, reported it to the school, unquote. But a relative can't just report suspected abuse to a school, just as a school worker can't just report it to someone at the school. The report must go directly from the person who has heard the allegation to the authorities. Obviously, a person with a strong sense of responsibility who is very concerned about a child is going to personally file a police report immediately. They're not going to leave it to somebody else, or get around to it whenever. They don't need to look up the state statute or think about it. Of course, it's possible that Joni not only reported the crime to the preschool but also to the police or one of the government agencies she was required to report it to. But she didn't say that on her TV show, to the Roy's Report, to the Christian Post, or by a statement on her website. The best proof that the president of Daystar fulfilled her personal responsibility as a grandmother and legal duty as a citizen, and did not try to cover up a serious crime against a little girl, is a police report, dated November 2020, on the day the child revealed the crime, with Joni Lamb's name on it. So there is a question we are waiting for her to answer. Joni Lamb, did you, or did you not, report the suspected crime against your granddaughter, who was only 5 years old, immediately, by phone or in person, either to a government law enforcement agency, or the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services? When this type of report is filed after somebody contacts the authorities, it produces a record. Where is the document? In conclusion, Suzy says Joni told her not to go to the police, and Joni denies this, but there is no recording of their communication as far as we know, so we don't know who is lying. At the end of the day, however, the more important issue is not whether Joni told Suzy to avoid the police, but whether Joni personally contacted the authorities to report the crime, because the Texas Attorney General sees this type of failure to report as a cover-up.